I just wanted to make a quick video on something that's been coming up a lot in my sessions this week with clients in the last few weeks, really, which is an issue around why is my brain acting the way it's acting? And people are having this kind of whipping themselves, frustration with themselves of, I'm exhausted, I can't plan, I can't focus, I can't sleep, but then I sleep and I can't wake up in the morning. And then it just sort of starts this whole spiral downwards of beating ourselves up. So I just wanted to make a quick video about what's happening a little bit in your brain to explain why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and then to help you get some ideas around what you can do instead. So the first thing with the exhaustion, you have to remember that what's going on right now is scary to your brain in a primal sense. The way that your lizard brain is processing what's happening with quarantine and coronavirus and seeing empty shelves and people wearing masks all the time and our life in total flip, like everything is different right now. When that happens, the amygdala, which is the real primal part of the brain, takes over. And the cortex, the part of the brain that's responsible for forward planning, rational thinking, kind of calming your amygdala down, that goes offline. So when we're faced in a crisis situation, like you've heard of fight, flight, freeze response, right? That's what's happening right now. So when you say to your brain, why aren't you thinking about, doing a Italian course, and why aren't we learning guitar during this, time where I have all this time on my hands? Because your amygdala is like, dude, we're in the middle of a war. I'm in the trenches. Bullets are whizzing past my head. Why would I be thinking about learning Italian right now or learning how to play guitar? Like, I'm just in survival mode, okay? So if you flip it to that and you understand that that's what's actually happening, if we flip it then to say you're like perpetually being in a car accident right now, then you can kind of look at yourself and go, oh, well, no wonder I'm so tired all the time. Oh, well, no wonder I'm feeling so lethargic and unmotivated and irritable and losing my temper quite quickly, right? Because you're in a high state of stress. And so you're not thinking super cash about life and feeling relaxed, okay? So exhaustion makes sense. And also, the amount of cortisol and adrenaline that your body is pumping right now is way more than it normally would be used to, especially if you are in an acutely stressful situation, like you have, say, elderly parents or someone who's immune compromised that you're concerned about, or you've just lost your job, or you have some financial stuff happening. And it doesn't matter. Don't even give me the whole, yeah, but I don't have it as bad as somebody else. Doesn't matter. And amygdala certainly doesn't care and is, doing the whole comparative suffering thing. Doesn't matter. You have to think about what is relevant to you and what is a big deal to you. And right now, your seemingly little, stupid situation is your big deal. So it's a big deal. It matters. It's not the Pain Olympics. Nobody's going to win a gold medal here. What is painful for you or what causes suffering for you is legitimate and important. Doesn't matter what it's compared to someone in Italy or New York or something, okay? So what most of us are doing is we get into this sort of cycle where we whip ourselves and beat ourselves up for not showing up however we're supposed to be showing up. That's not helpful. That's actually really dangerous because it's comparative suffering is the technical term, and it actually decreases your ability to be empathetic. When we do that, when we don't show empathy towards ourselves, it actually makes it harder for us to show empathy to others. So we don't want that. The opposite of sensitive is insensitive, not brave, right? We want to be sensitive to ourselves. It's okay to be sensitive. Don't be insensitive to yourself. That's not brave. Brave is totally different to that. So yeah, failing, or this is another thing I've heard a lot from clients in the last few weeks, is I'm failing. What's wrong with me? Everyone else is okay. Everyone else is coping. Every other parent, every other mom out there is loving homeschooling or is doing it. I'm the only one that's finding it really hard. That's just not true. Okay. That's just not true. And I know that because I'm talking to all these people that have the perfect Instagrams and the, pristine visual aesthetic on all of their social media that they're loving life. And I talk to these people and they're not thriving. It's just what you're seeing is the highlights reel, dude. This is not real life. What you're seeing in the color coded schedules and stuff that they say they're following, like they're just, some people are, yeah, but the majority of people are not. So if you are feeling like, why am I failing and why am I sucking? you're amongst the majority. The people who are, baking brownies from scratch and, learning Italian and learning guitar, like, they're the exception to the rule. The rest of us who are finding that stuff really hard, just to get dressed or just to do an hour of homeschooling with your kids, that is more normal because the brain is so stressed right now. The other thing that's really important to recognize is that present trauma brings up past trauma. So if you have trauma in your past, which if you're human, you do, because 99% of us have had something traumatic happen in our lives. And for the record, yes, trauma is where your life is threatened or your life is in danger. But my preferred definition of trauma from Peter Levine, one of the gurus in trauma land, is any experience where you feel profoundly helpless or lose your ability to cope. That's a much more accurate description, I think, of trauma. So things like, oh, my mom got diagnosed with cancer and I felt really traumatized in that experience because I wasn't able to help her. I was powerless. I was stuck, right? Watching your child go through a medical procedure could be traumatic for the parent, even if it's minor, because I felt profoundly helpless and I lost my ability to cope because I felt frozen or paralyzed with fear or whatever. If you have a significant trauma, we call it a big T trauma or a little t trauma, right? A big T trauma would be bushfire, assault, car accident. If you have a big T trauma, then pay attention, because what's going on right now is likely, and maybe you already know this and you've put this together, but likely what's going on right now is stirring all of that stuff up. So all of the traumas from the past, your big T or little t traumas from the past, quarantine, isolation, what's happening right now in the world, the drastic amounts of uncertainty, the massive amounts of disruption and change are sending most people's amygdalas into fight, flight, freeze response. But because there's not a tiger coming at me, then the cortex gets a little bit confused, right? So if the cortex job is to sort of soothe the amygdala goes, Corona equals tiger. And then cortex goes, but there isn't a tiger, but your body feels tiger. Okay. So that is, I'm finding it hard to sleep, stay asleep, wake up, tired, distracted. I don't feel very creative. I feel kind of creatively blocked. I don't feel very inspired. I can't plan too far ahead. That's all because amygdala is going tiger, 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 tiger. But then cortex tries to go, it's not a tiger. We didn't lose our job. We don't have it as bad as them. We're not in New York. It's okay. Cortex tries to throw those things in, but amygdala is still going tiger, 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 tiger. So no wonder you're going to be feeling overwhelmed by simple things, or distracted, or finding it hard to focus, or finding it hard to do the things you normally like to do. Because again, if you go back to the analogy of I'm sitting in the trenches and bullets are whizzing past my head, I'm not interested in learning guitar when I'm sitting in trenches. I don't have capacity to learn Italian at that point. Like, I'm just trying to not get hit by a bullet, man. Like, don't talk to me about color-coded schedules for my kids and baking cupcakes. I'm just trying not to die. So please have some compassion on yourself for what is happening right now, especially if you have trauma from the past, and especially if it's unprocessed, meaning you haven't done any therapy or work around it to release it from your body. If you are in that boat, then this will hands down for sure be messing with you. And you've maybe been wondering, what is going on? Why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? And that's why, because your brain is just focusing on don't die right now, basically. So what can you do? Things that activate your cortex are good. Things that calm your amygdala. So things that calm your amygdala are meditation, breathing, breath work, things that are self-care, like, yeah, that's massage and, going for a walk. But I kind of think of self-care more as stuff that calms me down. So sometimes that is watching Netflix and zoning out, journaling, talking to a friend on the phone, making lists can sometimes calm your brain down. Anything, it doesn't really, there's no right and wrong, whatever calms your brain down. And then cortex activating stuff is ways that you can bring your cortex online. But to bring cortex online, so thinking rationally and calmly and stuff like that, you have to first get amygdala to chill, because amygdala is the boss and amygdala runs the show. So if your amygdala is freaking out, you have to first tend to the amygdala, and then you can bring cortex back online. And that's maybe talking about your concerns with a friend. I'm a big lover of column charts of like the stuff on the left that I'm worried about, and then a column on the right to match it. What can I do if I can't do anything? How can I tell myself, like a calming statement, like I'm doing my best, or talking it out with a friend, coming up with a plan of how I can navigate these things, re-engaging back in therapy, reading a personal development book or something by, Eckhart Tolle or Tony Robbins, or you can Google the kind of guru people that are out there. But yeah, that I just wanted to go over this because I've had so many people talking to me about this in the last few weeks, of this overwhelming sense of powerlessness and helplessness that we all are facing with Corona, and not understanding why it's impacting me the way it is. Hopefully this is helpful, and hopefully this enables you to have some compassion on yourself and to be kind to yourself, to get through this period.